How to be a mentalist. People are wondering what a mentalist is and how that person can showcase his or her mental skills. Mentalists are a special breed of individuals who are able to manipulate other people to think how they want them to think. They go beyond scientific stuff and their methods border on the supernatural. Just like a magician, this professional has to rely on his or her cunning ways on how he or she persuades, converses, and maintain a somewhat cheerful disposition to mesmerize the spectators, while planning some mind tricks. The thought reader will never reveal his secrets or the tricks of his trade, unless he wants his audience to think that he is a fraud. The consummate telepathist will bewilder his audience from start to finish and will snicker all the way to the bank after a successful show. One quality that this person should have is to be persuasive, wherein he is able to decipher what his audience is thinking the same way he reads his best friend's mind. How to be a mentalist. The best ones should have mastered techniques or psychic abilities, like clairvoyance, mental telepathy, the use of mediums, controlling a person's mind, hypnosis, and even swift mathematical calculations. At the very least, mentalists are known as psychic stars. To be a very enthralling clairvoyant, the person should train himself or herself in manipulating his or her thoughts. It would help if a telepathist's abilities were hereditary in nature, but most professionals in this trade needed years of practice while observing the surroundings, his or her own movements, and other people's actions. Additionally, this person pinpointed his or her emotional makeup and learned how to have keen control on the different emotional outlooks. Once a mentalist masters his or her emotions, it would be the best time for that person to face throngs of people to perform his act. Also, it would benefit a mind reader to look into other effective alternatives that can awaken his mind, so he can be more creative and do what he does best. The person of this caliber should be a cerebral thinker and must always be 3 steps ahead of other people in terms of thinking. How to be a mentalist. Those with the SP certainly have more advantages when it comes to predicting an event or even reading other people's minds. But for most mentalists, the SP is not really a requirement. What is really needed is a very acute discernment of other people and what they would do next. It would be a bonus if the clairvoyant knows the person very well, like the palm of his hand. However, another way to be an effective mind reader is for one to look into another person's eye. The crucial prerequisite for a mentalist to be successful is that his intended subject should be genuinely interested, and he will notice that the latter's eyes are transfixed towards him or her. In a nutshell, the bigger the pupils of another person becomes, the more interested he or she will be. It would seemingly look like a walk in the park, but mentalists know that their tricks should remain undetected. They have done these tricks through constant practice and by looking straight in the mirror while conjuring various situations that were pleasant or not. Then they thought of falling in love. Their pupils became enlarged. On the other hand, then they thought of listening to nonsensical radio program. Their pupils became smaller. How to be a mentalist. Successful thought readers thrive because they are not only proficient in reading other people's minds, but they are also good in playing with words. To be an effective one, the person has to be observant on what the other person is talking about. If the subject is about religion, A would-be mind reader who is not sure if the other person is an agnostic or not will wait for the other talker to give himself away. The best enigmatic comments would be, "Really? Or you know how things are." These will get the other person to talk more. The meaningful discourse would be in the offing because mentalists know how to jumble words. How to become a mentalist. The person who is the life of a party and dominates the conversation is most likely a mind reader, especially if he or she is able to discern the minds of every person in that place. People are envious of mentalists because they are seemingly astounding talkers, sound decision makers, alert observers, and live far less stressful lives. Fortunately, anybody can become a thought reader. Reading another person's mind does not require tons of books or magical fantasies. All that is needed is for a person to follow simple methods for him to read other people's minds. Many clairvoyants, telepathists, fortune tellers and thought readers are adept with their craft because of factors like genes and polishing this art for years. An ordinary person can become a mind reader if he or she knows how to communicate. Mentalists are not only intense observers, but they are also exceptional talkers as well. How to become a mentalist. Asking the right queries is a good start if one wants to be a mind reader. There is a myriad of questions that a person may ask, but the right queries are usually the ones that may give the other person away. How to become a mentalist. Mind reading begins when a person knows how to organize and use leading questions that will make him or her determine the stand of the other person. One example would be a person asking the other if he is a Democrat or a Republican. Secondly, the former may ask the latter on what he thinks about these two parties. People who want to be mentalists should act as detectives without other people suspecting their motives. How to become a mentalist. Aspiring mind readers should master the art of tolerance. An efficient mentalist knows the value of being sensitive while in the middle of a conversation. He or she must never commit the mistake of judging another person to his face. Mentalists should always bear in mind that they should be enamored with the person or people that they are talking to, not with themselves. If one shows a natural and genuine interest to the other person, the other individual would most likely share more tidbits about his or her life. The majority of mentalists were made, not born, because they knew how to search for clues while conversing with other people. They were able to read minds because they were able to connect the situations that other people gave and more or less knew how they would react in certain circumstances. Any individual can do the same thing, but he or she should listen carefully aside from observing the other's eye movements. The power of words can give the other person away, and one who wants to be a mentalist should know how to read between the lines. Another way for people to be mentalists is to be attentive. Most people are creatures of habit and daily routines are part of their makeup. The mind reader will avidly check out his or her neighbor to see what that person is doing until he or she has become familiar with that neighbor's routine. The latter may get the shock of his life if the mind reader tells him that his next destination would be a particular place. He will be utterly amazed on how the former read his mind. Unknown to the nearby resident, the mentalist will sheepishly chuckle because he or she was naturally accustomed with the neighbor's habits. How to become a mentalist. Those who want to specialize in the art should observe their own routine and their foreseeable actions to enhance their understanding of other individuals as well. Mind reading is an art that amazes many people that they want to learn eagerly. The truth is that they should follow certain techniques that were mentioned a while ago. They have to remember that experienced mentalists followed these methods even if some were endowed with mental gifts that boggled the mind. Being a thought reader can be fun, enjoyable, and was never designed to be a pain in the neck. How to become a mentalist? An experienced and effective mentalist is able to conceal his or her tricks aside from using misdirection to dazzle the audience. People easily get distracted because of their amazement, so the mentalist absolutely knows how to misdirect them. When the attention of the crowd is there, the professional mentalist will have more chances to be able to show off his skills. An inexperienced mentalist may not have these skills, but he or she can easily disarm people with a simple smile because it evokes positive energy. How to become a mentalist? Charisma has a way in making people trust certain individuals, so a neophyte mind reader should practice smiling at all times. Smiling is infectious, and this is the most basic quality that an ambitious mentalist should have. For those who do not smile or grin a lot, they may have to exert the effort to smile even for just 30 seconds. Wonderful things will happen if they allow their bodily chemicals to make them happy.